G'day, freedom lovers. How you going? Today is a pretty important one because this is the point where I decided, you know what? I'm going to create the North Queensland Freedom Network 2 years ago. So happy birthday, us. Woohoo! I've got my super awesome son here, Tyler, with me today. And I'm also going to bring in Oliver, who's had a little bit of a hiatus for a little while, but he's come back just in time for our second birthday. Now, before we begin, as always, with Monday, we're going to start with Fail of the Week. So it's a little bit different this time. I've had a few little hiccups in my little world here, which I will get into in just a moment. But before we do, I'd like to show you a little video I've knocked up. This one was inspired by Michael from Cafe Lockdown. He's, was the brainchild behind this, which came in at a perfect time and another example of just how amazing this Freedom Network thing is, because here I am pulling my hair out because things weren't going the way I wanted them to. Long story short, Michael come up with this, hey man, can you knock this video up? I've got this idea. And it just slots in perfectly because it is about this Amanda Rishworth and her assault, I guess, from a certain point of view, possible assault, maybe. I guess we'll have to nut this out. But here's a little bit of it. Watch this.
I thank the Deputy Leader of the Opposition for her rhetoric.
What's this?
An ultrasound in an hour?
Yeah, she's pregnant.
Based on the fact that I don't have a work permit, I have a work permit. No! He's fucking choking me! He's choking me!
Dinosaur and dickhead Ray Martin.
If you're a dinosaur, a dickhead.
You know, that terrible overlord, Brad Hazzard.
Anti-vaxxers obviously live in another universe.
I know I'm supposed to say that I respect people's choices and reasons. I don't. You don't get to choose.
Can someone please provide me with a definition of what a woman is? Department of Health, definition of a man, definition of a woman.
We should take that on notice.
You're going to take on notice the question of what a woman is?
No. So we should take that on notice. So we should take that on notice. So we should take that on notice. So we should take that on notice.
So that's kind of what we're dealing with this week. As you can see from that picture that comes up there, they seem to be targeting my good, strong son here. And, all our little boys, in a sense, seeing that picture that they show. And, maybe I should have been a little bit more prepared yet again. But I'm going to bring that file up for you so you can have a look at it. And let's really dissect this concept here. Because to me, this is really, really bad. It has the potential to be really, really bad because they're clearly targeting a specific gender. And as you can see, the Parliament can't even define what a man or a woman is. So it's just an amazing system of contradiction that we've all come to recognize throughout these last few years in particular. For me, it's been a long journey of realization. But let's have a look. Let's open that one. So this isn't going to be as prepared as I would like to be because, like I said, life's been a little bit challenging. But, these are the exact words of this lady at the moment. Violence against women and children destroys lives. It must end. That's why, as part of addressing this issue, we're investing in innovative perpetrator responses around the country to help shift the dial and reach our goal of ending violence in one generation. And of course, the catchphrase for this, violence against women and children destroys lives, it must end. Personally, I'm going to go down the same line I would normally go in these things and just say violence in general is not the way to go. But, some people just seem to want to make it about little groups of people and whatnot, and I'm pretty sure Tyler would agree that violence in general is pretty bad.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. Like everywhere, like you shouldn't be pepper spraying people as what it showed in the video of the police.
Have you seen that kind of footage before?
Yeah.
Yeah. How, as a young fella, how do you feel seeing those grown men running around pepper spraying old ladies and things?
It does not seem like something that I would expect from the police. The police are supposed to be protecting people, not harassing and attacking people.
Exactly. So, and then all to make them take a drug, an experimental one at that.
Yeah, I don't think that would be something that they should be doing. They should be like trying to protect them, not harass and attack them, because we should be allowed to protest. And they even say that at school they've been saying you're allowed to protest. So they've been protesting. I mean,
Might get you to come up to this microphone a little bit, buddy, because I reckon people are probably struggling to hear. Because we've done that bit, so we don't need to see the board so much. Just remember, talk nice and loud and clear so people can hear.
Yep. Yeah. As I was saying was that that we should be allowed to protest, and the fact that police are now harassing, pepper spraying people's eyes, and dragging them across the street in front of the public. Like this, that does not seem like what the police were supposed to be. And the fact that what we learned back in like kindergarten was the police are there to help you, not attack you. They're not the enemy.
And I think it would have been very shocking for a lot of those people to discover that that's how the police treated, innocent protesters. And like you said, we're supposed to have the right to protest, and Dictator Dan himself said that. That we have a right to protest, apparently. So it's it's definitely shocking. There was another picture I had here, and I'm trying to figure out where it ended up, because it's not with the other bloody photos. This is another one of those moments where I've rushed through something in a vain hope of getting it done really quickly, and I see the problem. It's in one of those tricky little formats that gives us grief. It's just what I call the Twitter problem. So
It doesn't work on Twitter.
Well, because Twitter downloads things in a different file format. The file is there. The problem is it's not in a format that this particular software agrees with. So while I'm fumbling through this, son, how good is it to be part of North Queensland Freedom Network on our 2nd birthday? Woohoo!
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've only been on this live stream once. I've been popping up in around it over the 2 years, but like haven't had like a full conversation that's lasted like a long time. So I like being actually here on camera. One of my friends at school said that they saw me on my place.
Yeah.
Yeah. They saw a photo of me on that. So I said why I was there, and who you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it make you feel proud to be a part of all this and that your friend's seen it?
Yeah, I like it now. Actually, I'm around. I'm on the internet that people are seeing me. I have.
But it's not just about being famous, is it? It's about good work, eh?
I now know that people are actually seeing it.
So your work is not all for nothing.
Yeah.
It's always good, isn't it?
And that other people are also on the know the things that I know. It's not like just me knowing this.
Yeah.
And trying to get people to understand it.
It can be a challenging getting your voice out sometimes, and it's good to have a platform, eh?
Yeah, I enjoy having to have the freedom to say whatever, not having to say anything.
You watched me save that, didn't you? Where did it go?
Yeah, I did see you save that.
Cool. What have I done this time?
Did you not put in the file?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Needed to go in this one.
Yep.
Keep talking, son.
Anyway, so I forgot where I was.
How good it was that people get to see what you're doing.
Oh yeah, it's good that I can actually see what people are seeing me. I can actually see whatever I want. and no one's like gonna. We're not gonna get immediately like banned for saying something.
Well, we do have to be careful, particularly with certain elements of it, because yes, they will ban us. They will. They're going to give it a go.
It's not as hard as it would be on certain platforms. And if it was on like somewhere else, like if it was like on the news, then it wouldn't they wouldn't like it.
Yeah, and they edit and only give you little sound bites because you've been on the news before. When Dad was camera operator, we got you on the news a couple of times.
And even without you, I went on 9 News, and when I actually watched it, I was there. I saw myself, but like it was like tiny. Like I saw it, I popped out and went away.
Yeah, your 15 seconds of fame.
Yeah. So
we might see if we can get you 15 minutes. So anyway, this is what the Labor government's put out, mate. So the Healthy Masculinities Project trial will receive 3.5 million in funding to help. They're going to combat harmful gender stereotypes perpetuated online. What do you make of that?
How can you? I want to know how how are you combating a harmful stereotype?
That's a good question.
When the video we just saw was the police who are supposed to be with this.
So you understand what Dad did with that construction then?
Yeah. How would the police be agreeing with this, even though they're the ones that are making this happen?
Well, it comes down to what we classify as a gender stereotype. And because of the broad language that they've used, this gender stereotype could fundamentally be anything, including the LGABC mob. Now, I want you to have a look at that picture. What does that picture tell you?
It tells me that kid needs to go touch grass, and that they probably don't remember what it smells like. They remember what a bird smells like. Well.
All right, so you're seeing him, he's sitting inside and he's playing with his phone.
Yeah,
something you're very guilty of as well, I might add.
But he seems to be locked
we're talking about gender stereotypes. What gender is this child?
He looks to be male.
Very well answered with that. Looks to be male. Very well worded. Good to see you learning, son. So it would seem to suggest, particularly seeing healthy masculinities means men, or men, qualities surrounding men. And we have a picture of a young boy. So who do you think they're trying to target here?
The young boys.
Like you.
Yeah.
And particularly because he's got a device in his hand, ones that are online, and it says perpetrated online. So your question was, how are they going to do that? What do you think? How they're going? How do you think they're going to implement that? Looking at that picture, we know we know the target audience, and we can see that there's a device there telling us that, and the words online. So have a think. What do you think they're going to try and do?
They'll be trying to say that trying to make it like an ad or something to pop up in like more restrictions on what a man or a boy would be able to say compared to a woman.
Do you think it's a bit sexist?
Yeah, it definitely is. Like if it is, and what it seems to be on just boys and like men, seems like a rule to like restrict what certain people, one gender can say, not all.
Yeah.
Seems to be unfair and a bit sexist. Not a bit, like very sexist.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a child's perspective of what's just transpired. And Tyler had no idea about this. I've set him up, I've dragged him in, I've shown he has never seen any of the stuff that I've done in regards to this, because this has been a slap together over the last day or two, and I've just thrown it at him.
Had that.
Yeah.
The last thing I knew was like the last thing you filmed.
Wow, which one was that?
There was the 12 hours one.
There you go. Actually, that's a good example of some more toxic masculinity in a sense. Let's have a look. So Tyler and I trained down at 12 Arrows, and this is a little ad I've knocked up for my good friend. Have a look at this.
So at 12 Arrows, you're learning coordination. You're obviously getting your fitness up. You're learning things that might get you out of a little bit of trouble one day. Most of all, you are building resilience within your own self. You're growing fortitude within your own mind. The I can after 10,000 I can'ts is the thing that you're after. If you're a little older, younger, maybe feel like you can't quite get into martial arts, this is probably the place for you. Everybody here is quite easygoing. If now you think is the time, come on down, give us a shot.
I don't just sell you anything, I sell you a product I believe in. So yeah, that's actually the old version. I did knock up a better version and then forgot to upload it. But anyway, that was the preliminary rough idea. So there's some more of the toxic masculinity that Tyler and I engage in. And yeah, Tyler helped us film that, put it together. And that's the kind of presentations we want to try and get out to people who, you know, perhaps you've got a business like Ben Manderson there, 12 Arrows has. And I should probably load up the proper version of that while we have a chat. So, but tell us, why do you think it's important to train in something like martial arts, mate?
Because if someone like runs up on you in the street, someone like approaches you and wants to fight you, you would need to know how to fight back or how to defend yourself. Like judging if there would be like someone trying to attack you.
So it's good for self-defense.
Yeah, and like and even like at school, because a lot of people are a bit violent at school as well. So
keep going. Sorry, I'm just muttering to myself.
Yeah, I did hear you just say shush. I was like,
no, I didn't say that at all. Actually, I said something worse.
Okay.
It's all right. I think I've solved the problemo. And let's see if that's going to upload now. Yep, there we go.
Okay.
All right, keep going.
Yeah.
So what else do you like about doing martial arts with Dad?
That I get to connect with well, my dad, other people that I probably would never have met. Like I've met people I've never met before. I made new friends there, and everyone's friendly there. So I find it's not hard because everyone like knows each other. Everyone will like thinks like the same way. It's like everyone's like they're not gonna try and attack you and harm you.
Sorry, I knew I was going to do that.
No one's gonna try and attack you there, so it's a very friendly place.
Yeah. So what would you tell your friends if your friends are asking about martial arts? What would you say to them? There's a good reason for them to come and down to 12 Arrows and give it a go.
That you get to make new friends, you get to train, you get to know how to be safe, you get to feel safer, you get to feel better about yourself. Because we used to do like the breath work there as well, which helps the soul and the mind and everything. So yeah, I think so. That's what I would say is that a very friendly thing to do.
Sorry, trying to do 100 things. You're doing a great job. Hold that show together for Dad while he still bumbles his way through this.
I honestly thought you were done.
I was, but I forgot to click one button. And it's always one button.
Yeah, and you got to restart everything.
Yeah, well, you know, because I've got to manually go and set it to this, and then I've got to tell it to put the alpha channel in because it didn't have the alpha channel. And now I'm talking like a foreign language to a lot of people because they're like, an alpha channel? What the hell's an alpha channel?
And they also can't see what you're doing.
Exactly, because they're supposed to be looking at you, and you're supposed to be saving the show while Dad makes a meal of this again because, as usual, racing the clock.
But yeah, I think I enjoy. I think I really do enjoy it because I get to make new friends, meet new people. I get to be safer. I'm not gonna be, and I also get to feel better. Like inside.
Yeah.
And like I also noticed I can hold my breath longer now because I do the breath work and you hold the breath for a long period. And because like having so much air also clears out like the soul. Yeah. It's like
yes. Mind, body, and soul connection through martial arts. You know, there's people out there that would actually consider what we do to be toxic masculinity. See, because Joe Rogan gets accused of that kind of thing all the time, and he's a big pusher for mixed martial arts, and that's what we do.
How? That doesn't make sense to me, because like I do it, and it does not seem like a harsh environment that one gender is. Because like if you go have a look at the UFC, there's women fighters, there's boy fighters, there's short, there's tall. If there's no like restriction on what you can be, what you can do, so that doesn't make sense to me. And everyone seems to be friendly, so how would
I don't. It mystifies me. I can only assume that the people who are saying that somehow feel threatened by the fact that you're able to defend yourself. Perhaps some people don't want you to be fit and healthy. I don't know. I mean, the same people who'd sell you Big Macs and jabs and things like that might think that being healthy is a bad idea. Perhaps, I don't know. Maybe they think that a Big Mac and a jab is healthy. These are unique questions that need to kind of be asked, I guess, to people. But I think we've kind of nearly there.
It's just need to upload.
Yeah, it's nearly there. Well, we've got to show them the proper version of the ad, because that's got all the details of how they can contact Ben. Yeah. And as usual, foot and mouth disease. And then we'll explain why I'm getting foot and mouth disease. In the meantime, Sips, happy birthday, North Queensland Freedom Network.
I'm going to drink.
Sorry, son. Another one of my failings. I just didn't have it together today. Sorry.
I need to go get a drink from outside.
But as I'm about to, we'll have a look at this, and then I'll explain why things didn't go so well for Dad today, or the last couple of days for that matter. So this is the ad as it was supposed to be.
At 12 Arrows, you're learning coordination. You're obviously getting your fitness up. You're learning things that might get you out of a little bit of trouble one day. Most of all, you are building resilience within your own self. You're growing fortitude within your own mind. The I can after 10,000 I can'ts is the thing that you're after. If you're a little older, younger, maybe feel like you can't quite get into martial arts, this is probably the place for you. Everybody here is quite easygoing. If now you think is the time, come on down, give us a shot.
We don't just sell you anything, I sell you a product I believe in. Oh, it's heaps better, eh?
Yeah.
Did you like the little punch at the end and then the logo comes up?
Yeah, that was actually the ideal of the shot I said to you.
Yeah.
It's like punching the camera.
But you didn't expect the logo to come out, though, did you? That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm good, aren't I?
I did like the fire.
You can tell me I'm good. It's okay.
Yeah, I like the fire as well.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. So, yeah, definitely get on to Ben if you want to get fit and healthy and connect that mind, body, and soul and all that. But let's have a look at why things were a bit rough for good old me today. It's another one of those things I built but forgot to bring in. Quick, Tyler, talk.
About what?
How much you enjoy working with Oliver, because we're about to introduce Oliver, but, I fucked up my thing again.
I don't know if I've worked with Oliver.
Come on, you've seen Oliver around.
Yeah, but like I haven't done
haven't actually
with him.
Okay, because you've been filling in a bit for Oliver at the moment, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been the assistant cameraman.
Assistant cameraman. You've been doing a mighty fine job too.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is what my past couple of days have looked like, boys and girls. And the reason I was going to use this to introduce Oliver is because he does some things with some mushrooms, and maybe he can tell me what's been growing in my bloody studio here. So as you can see, there was obviously some water damage from the aircon units, unbeknownst to me, because it's tucked right underneath the desk. And it wasn't until my feet were getting wet that I started to realize I had a problem. At first, I thought maybe it was because I introduced a fridge into the scenario and the fridge had leaked. But then once I cleaned it all up and I kept cleaning it, it didn't go away. So for the last 2 to 3 days, I've just been doing that time and time again, constantly trying to fix a problem. So I got a bloke coming in to sort that out very soon, hopefully. So, but without further ado, I think it's time we bring Oliver into the mix. How are you, Oliver?
Hey, Mark. I am great. How about you?
Wow. You just seen my mushrooms growing in the back of the room.
I did. They looked very interesting, and I have no idea what they could be. The world of mushrooms is a very fascinating world unto itself that people are still learning lots about. I don't know what they are, but that's kind of funny.
I wasn't game to give them a go. I reckon they might be of the death variety myself.
That's a wise decision. As they say, there are old mushroom pickers and there are bold mushroom pickers, but there's no old, bold mushroom pickers.
Yeah, there you go. So, 2 years, mate. 2 years we've been knocking around with this stuff.
Yeah,
so I thought, now that you're, able to sort of get back in and, start doing some things with the North Queensland Freedom Network, it's time to introduce the online community to you. And we'll probably do another introduction on Friday, if that suits you all right, to the Cafe Locked-Out crew that we're all part of now.
Okay.
This will be like the training sort of version as we go through and recap what we've worked on over the last couple of years. But for those who don't know, Oliver jumped on very early in the stage. Obviously I'd come up with hey, I'm going to do this thing in November when I started to see the rallies starting to take off here in Townsville, and I think it was like basically the 20th, I think it was, of November was the first one that I actually filmed and got up online, which is like 7 days from now. So we're going to have a little week celebration because obviously I'd planned to do this. I didn't just go, hey, I'm going to grab my camera on the 20th and lob out. I had to think about it. I had to plan it. I had to start thinking, what are we going to call this? Obviously contacting the people with the rallies and all that sort of stuff to get a handle of what was going on. So it was a little bit of preparation. So pretty much now is the time, 2 years ago that we would have started this little adventure. And it's obviously grown a little bit past me, where Oliver's jumped on board and brought us some amazing stories, and Tyler's jumped on board and given us a lot of help lately in the absence of Oliver. And my other son, Zach, has also jumped in and helped us a lot in the early days too, running after me while we were getting those shots at the rallies. He's holding the sticks and whatever bits and pieces I had, that I couldn't carry, so I could get those amazing shots from those early rallies that we had. But Oliver, you've brought us some amazing stories, including that wind farm story that, has been quite popular amongst the channel. That's all Oliver's work. You've come from a background of staunch environmentalism, as so many of us have been given that we're all going to die sort of thing that we're taught in school. And obviously who doesn't care about the environment unless you're some sort of megalomaniacal maniac who just wants to see the world burn. I can't see anybody who wouldn't want to look after their environment. But anyway, Oliver, tell us a little bit about why you wanted to jump on board with the North Queensland Freedom Network in the first place.
Yeah, man. Well, as you know, I wanted to support this because I strongly believe that if we don't have a media that is independent, then there's no way that we can have a properly functioning democracy. And it was really interesting. I think I must have had a dream or something the day before I met you. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've told you this. I had a dream, something to do with a crocodile, and crocodiles are very significant animals, and you should pay attention to them in your dreams. And in
real life too. They might just chew your leg off.
Yeah, also, yeah. And I remember having a dream about a crocodile, and I won't go into detail, but the next day, that's when I met you, and I saw you had that hat with the crocodile skin, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if this has something to do with the dream. So as I do, I follow my dreams, and it seemed like a cool idea. You're cool. So I'm like, yeah, let's do this thing anyway. And you came along to that first people things, democracy discussion. And that's when we hit it off, because we need more people involved in anything that is helping our community and helping us bring about a world that we actually all want to live in and that we are all contributing to. So that's, a little bit about.
And that was the 16th of December I come along to your people's thing, and that's like one of the very early stories that you can go through and have a look at too. People people are interested to go all the way back in time and see that first time that, you know, because I think we've seen each other at the rally like a week or two before, and he said, "Hey, I'm doing this, you know, democracy thing, you know, or I don't know."
No, I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure the first time I met you was at that was at the thing that the Freedom Group was organizing, the with Jeannie
Stand in the park. Stand in the park.
Yeah, remember the archery club? Because we have meetings at the archery club where those rallies were organized, for people that don't know. And that is where I met you, because it was like there was a meeting on, and I was told that there was a camera guy there, and I was like, okay, cool, that sounds pretty cool, because there's lots of things that I think need to be shed light on. So yeah.
Well, I just found a little picture here of that time. I thought I'd better bring it up.
Okay.
So there you are. You know, with the, you know, a few of the original crew there.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
That is at Jesshope Barracks Park. So, yeah, and I thought you did pretty good with the interview I gave you. And next thing you know, you're jumping back in, you know, in front of the camera as a reporter and whatnot. It was really cool.
Yep. Yeah,
we certainly didn't have much of an idea of what we were doing then, but we got a hell of a lot better idea of what we're doing now.
Yeah, it's good. It's awesome. Yeah.
So there was also another story that you told me as we've gone through, you know, and you know, obviously probably don't want to name names and upset people and whatnot, but you know, tell us a little bit about that background you came from, you know, sort of working with the university types and trying to save the world from this, you know, we're all gonna die, the world's burning, sky is falling.
Yeah, sure. Well, my journey with that began, it was a little bit up and down, because as a younger person, when I was in high school, I was 16, and that's when I really started to open my mind up to other things and really return to a lot of things that I kind of already resonated with when I was really little. And yeah, during that journey, it can be a little bit difficult understanding how to, when you have the urge to create some sort of social change in the world, to understand exactly how to make that happen. And the first things available, at least to me, are more ideas that are of a liberal nature. And I feel that I am a little bit more liberal by nature. I don't know if this is an actual thing, but I have a bit of a theory that we just have people in our world that are biologically, maybe, again, this is a bit crazy, I don't know, but I feel like biologically we need to have people who are a little bit bit this way, a bit that way, because how else can we do, you know, explain that the left and right, you know, political divide. So
I kind of look at it as that there's this bird, and everybody's piled onto one wing, and then a whole bunch of other people piled on the other wing, and they're trying to fight each other. You know, at the end of the day, that bird ain't going far with one wing.
Yeah, that's
I'm all for trying to help handicapped and all that sort of thing, but why would you handicap yourself?
Yes, very, very on point there. But yeah, so a bit more about my journey is that I got involved heavily with all and any environmental group that I was aware of, because in my understanding, the environment and making sure that, you know, we are transitioning to more renewable energy sources was the main goal there, because I was thinking, well, you know, I think given all the circumstances, it seems to be that's the most pressing matter. We still have all our other challenges as a human race, but that to me seemed to be front and center. So I joined all the groups and I do everything and anything that I possibly could. And without going on too much, because this could be a very long discussion. Some of the themes that I observed was that sometimes I think people just need a cause, they need something to connect with other people over. And that seems to be a very human thing. I'm not necessarily criticizing that, because I get that sometimes, right? It's fun and it's exciting to do things, but at the same time, I think where there was a bit of conflict with myself and some of these other groups is that I was very serious and still am about actually figuring this whole climate change thing out and grounding these ideas. I found that a lot of the ideas in some of the far left groups that I was in were a little bit ungrounded, and when you would challenge
Just get
them.
you to elaborate a little bit on ungrounded, maybe, you know.
So one example, a great example would be, and I'm happy to talk about this, is with Extinction Rebellion, right? When you have activists who will put themselves on the line, who'll put their bodies on the line, which is cool and stuff, but they'll put themselves on the roads and block traffic and all that sort of thing. Now, when you don't know anything else, and I didn't at the time, I was like, wow, this seems to be like the way to go, because we need to stop. We need to show people that this is a really serious thing. But that doesn't exactly it doesn't make that connect with the public nor the actual mission of achieving a more sustainable world, because you're just aggravating the public, and you're not actually building a better world. So because I'm interested in actually like making things happen, right? That's why I've also done a lot of things with the mushroom group, collecting coffee grounds, a whole bunch of other things that I am involved with. But yeah, it's a bit about ungrounded ideas. And
cool.
another big thing here also is I think it's really important that when we're thinking about making big decisions for the world, because that's what an activist seems to be, is someone who takes upon themselves the challenges of their community and their society and goes about finding ways that they can resolve some of those challenges and overcome them. And if you're going to take that responsibility, you need to, in my opinion, you need to be able to entertain other ideas and other ways of thinking, which I found not so much with those groups. Not all of them, and not everyone, but it was something that I did have a lot of conflict over, and found quite rife.
So what kind of conflicts did you have with these people?
Conflicts.
If you're able to talk about it.
Yeah. I think it's really that main point of really, because I have a bit of a fire and I want to actually make things happen, and I like doing things with other people. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, if this is our intention to actually bring about more sustainable practices and prevent more land clearing, or make people more aware of their environment and things going on there, then maybe we need to actually pursue these other ways of going about that, or at least just get people involved in more things, so that we're doing more. But it was a little bit challenging to kind of get that across to some people, because I suppose, as I said earlier, it's not always about actually seriously making social change. It's kind of more about having something to go up against. And this is where I've started to kind of delve into this more philosophical realm here, because I really wonder about this. Like, for example, Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher of the 18th century, for people who don't know, kind of came up with the phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, which most people have all heard, and lots of other ideas. But he said something along the lines of that you only cannot really understand yourself through conflict. And sometimes he literally says that people will sometimes fight. They'll join a fight, or they'll start fighting something or someone just so that they can understand their own strength. And to me, it's so in me trying to understand why we will just pick up a fight without being serious about trying to overcome it, speaks to like some sort of deeper question here about our philosophical predicament that we're in this day and age, with understanding ourselves and who we are as human beings and what it means to be human in this world. So that's kind of where I've kind of come to on some of those things, Things that I wonder about with all this.
So on that topic of the climate change construct and, the people you've dealt with, they generally avidly seem to believe that it is 100% man-made and we are the cause of the problem. Would that be a correct assessment?
That would be, I think that would be, a term that a lot of people in those groups would agree with, that they, would say that it is all completely man-made. However, I tend,
I was going to say, how do they respond when confronted with the idea of previous ice ages and the fact that the magnetic poles of the Earth have been clearly shown to have moved throughout history? I mean, they taught me that in high school. I believe it would have been Tyler's age when they were telling us about how the magnetic poles of, did they tell you that in high school now? That the magnetic poles of the Earth have changed and have been historically proven to do so by the way iron in its liquid form from volcanic activity settled at certain sedimentary layers.
They said how volcanoes are made.
Yeah.
But
they never get into how those metal elements in their liquid form actually run according to the magnetic poles of the Earth, and that's how they know that the poles have changed. Wow, okay. Well, there you go. There's something that the school didn't teach you that I get to teach you today. All right. So that, the magnetic poles of the Earth have shifted, and that is scientific fact. All right. We also know that, we've had ice ages. We also know that we go back to the Cretaceous period, when dinosaurs and whatnot were lobbing around doing their thing, that trees were a hell of a lot taller. There was more carbon in the atmosphere then, which allowed the trees to be taller. There was more moisture. Things were actually hotter. There was, climate change is a natural part of the Earth. And even in this book that I've been reading by David Wilcock, the source field investigations, which is very fascinating. Definitely not for the faint of heart, because, there's a fair bit of science. Like the research this guy's done in that book is amazing. I would recommend people to have a look at that one. Maybe not so much his other ones, unless you really want to go down that path of deep spiritual sort of constructs. But here it goes into how, particularly since 1999 and up until now, we've had some massive changes in the sun, some huge sunspot activity, massive magnetic fluctuations and all that sort of shit. And I knew about this stuff back in the 90s, like I had observed it because I was, a big space buff, if you can't tell by the t-shirt and, Star Wars and all that shit on the wall. I better, point it out to you then. I was always watching the NASA website, always watching SETI programs and all that sort of stuff to see what's out there. Very curious about that kind of thing. And when I realized that there was huge solar activities happening, I watched those websites with, curiosity to see what would happen. And coincidentally, at the same time, I think it was about 98, 97, somewhere around that, some people had started giving me channeled works, and what you want to think about that's up to your own sort of research level. But within them, they actually contained, some ideas of their prophetic teachings, which was in time, you're going to see a lot more solar activity. This global warming thing is going to change because the planet and the whole solar system was changing. And that was information that was, obviously given to me long before it actually started happening. So when I seen it happening, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe there's something about this shit. And now, recently I've been going through and looking at this book and, I've just managed to pull it up, and even since the 1970s, the sun's overall radiation emissions have increased by 0.5% per decade. So that's a pretty sizable change, as time has rolled on. The sun's doing some crazy stuff here, and there's a lot you can. A lot of this comes from NASA documentation and whatnot. Mercury itself has seen some very strange changes. So despite supposedly high surface temperature, Mercury seems to have ice in its polar region. It also has an unexpectedly dense core and strong magnetic field. Scientists would like to know how these anomalies are possible. So, it just demonstrates how little we understand about planets, In 2008, Mercury was found to have several signatures indicating significant pressure with the magnetosphere that it didn't have in the 1970s. By 2009, it had gotten much more intense. So that seems to suggest that, that 40-year period, we've had quite a bit of change going on there. And we've even, got big magnetic twists. These tornadoes are 10 times as strong as anything ever seen on Earth, and Mercury's a lot smaller, but this book goes through, it even, points out that there's been obviously change in Venus. And recently I've seen, some of these, more climate-based scientists from NASA are coming out and saying that, Venus was once a green planet, but it changed due to climate change. Or what are you saying? Like the cows farted on Earth and fucking that went back in time and changed fucking Venus? Is that where we're going? Like, I better stop eating meat. Maybe I can change the past. Like that's the kind of mentality we're dealing with here, but like, I won't go on forever. If maybe we'll have a look at this together in a bit of time, Oliver, because I reckon you'll find this very fascinating. But it goes through every planet and basically the last 30 to 40 odd years, every planet in our solar system has had noticeable elements of climate change. How the hell did we do that?
Well,
I mean,
it's probably not
space out there, but
what do you mean? How did we do that?
Well, because apparently, climate change on Earth is being caused by, cows farting, all our meat, our farming practices, all this carbon that's going into the atmosphere. It's man-made climate change, right? That's the narrative. But if it's man-made climate change here on Earth, why is it happening throughout the entire fucking solar system?
I think I'm not an expert in the climatology. That's not even probably the study of it. I don't know what it's called. Climate science, right? I think some of the alternative arguments there are that like that the climate changes, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people agree that the climate does change, but whether or not it's caused by humans, and how much of it is actually happening is the question. So yeah, I'm not sure what see, this is what I do when things like this are brought up. Like I've got other things that I look into now. I'm not that acquainted with the facts on this, but ages ago when I was having these discussions with people, I really I would think about alternative perspectives on this because I was I was pretty convinced of what the science seemed to show, because I read through the IPCC report. I remember it was I'm pretty sure it was October the 8th, 2018, that this IPCC report came out showing how horrible things are and how horrible things are going to get. I didn't read the whole thing, and of course it uses a lot of scientific jargon that I'm not overly familiar with. But what I feel it really comes down to is, are we living in harmony with nature? And nature doesn't necessarily mean the plants, the animals. It also means us, because we are here. We are part of this universe. Therefore, we are nature. Nature is everything, right? It's everything that's here. So when we can live more in harmony with ourselves and with nature, and rather the external world, then I think that things will clear up and we won't see as much environmental degradation, which is really what I think we want to ameliorate in our world. We want to make sure that we are using our resources economically and effectively, so that we have enough for people, and that we are not over exploiting our earth in ways that we don't need to. That I think is part of the goal, and that we're not disrupting ecosystems that can't be disrupted, that have that are sensitive and require a bit more care. But this is a complicated topic, because the whole question of so many things come into this, about humans, about our nature, about where we come from. I'm sure we could get into some crazy talks about that.
Oh yeah, that'll have to be another podcast.
yeah, right. But in terms of bringing this back to the environment, I think a core message here that differentiates the environmental activists, who I'm sure you would be best mates with. I meant that sarcastically. And someone that you are best mates with, like me, is that
That's
they.
because you make sense.
Pardon?
That's because you make sense, and most of them other mob, they don't.
Yeah, well, the difference is that I have tended to. I still have opinions of my own, but I still am able to entertain other ideas, and this is what I have done my very best to impart onto other activists, particularly younger ones. That it's it is really important to have things that you believe in strongly, but you also need to actually entertain other points of view. And just for the record, when we did our huge 2019 school strike, there was some guy, I don't even know who he was. There was lots of strange people there, as there always is at rallies and protests and whatever. But there was a guy there who just who I didn't know, who just kind of rocked up on the day and set up a little stall there. And he was talking about how we need carbon. Like I didn't actually speak to him. I just got told things from other people that were there because I was kind of organizing all the things on the event. And they said that, yeah, he's like talking about how we need carbon and this and that, whatever. And I didn't agree with it at the time. I was like, I don't really understand what he's on about. But like I knew that it's not a good thing to just silence that, because some people were telling me that I should just kind of get rid of this dude. And I was like, I won't do that, because I feel like if I'm seen to like see, even me from that perspective, I know that like if I'm there and I'm like trying to silence this dude's perspective, that's suspicious, right? Because it's like, well, maybe there's actually something to that. So I just let him be there. And if people want to chat with him, people did chat. I don't know what happened with that, but this is another thing that I've read from a really good quote from Friedrich Nietzsche. He said that if the surest way to corrupt a youth is to ensure that they think back. I'm misquoting here, but that they think negatively of people who don't have the same opinions as theirs, or who can't entertain other ideas.
Yeah.
So that's the market difference.
Very prominent at the moment too.
Yeah, and the question here would be, okay, why then would that attitude be so pervasive among the general environmental movement? How come we have that attitude of shouting down people who have other ideas about things? If they have another idea about the problem that you're trying to solve, maybe if you're really trying to solve that problem, then maybe it's a good idea to listen to them, because the worst that can happen is they're not right. Their ideas aren't matching up, and then you can just be like, well, you can simply take apart their argument and then move on. So there's a bit of hysteria, and I suppose that comes from a whole range of things, because a lot of these activists are younger people, and I'm no exception here. Can get a bit heated, can get a bit uppity. But on the scale that it's on, it's there are other people there, and I've seen this. There are other people who will who don't have those points of view, and who, in my opinion, seem to actively corrupt young people with points of with trying to tell them, just like, I don't know how they do it, because like I'm not listening to them all the time or whatever, but like I've witnessed people trying to, I suppose, just keep their minds closed off, like from alternative perspectives, right?
And that's what when I said before, you make sense. You have that ability to see, hang on, we've got to bring in all these other guys. We have to analyze the whole picture. Whereas in my opinion, working particularly with the mainstream media and a lot of these very closed-minded people who claim to be scientists, they have a very strict narrative that they stick to, and they won't deviate. And they seem to be as intolerant of questions being asked as a Sunday school teacher. And to me, that was always a red flag. You can't sit there and say, hey, we're all happy for questions to be asked, and then shoot someone down when they ask a question that you didn't like.
What kind of red flag, Mark?
Well, it might have a hammer and a sickle in it, kind of red flag. It could have You know, we are the Labor Party kind of red flag, you know, because look, you know, like yourself, you know, I used to be full staunch on that kind of lefty side of things until I actually started hanging out and associating with those kinds of people. And as I've said in previous shows, I went. Sorry,
how left?
Like turning up to Labor rallies for May Day and whatnot.
Okay. Oh, that's not too bad.
Where I discovered that they were supporting communism and socialism, and
yeah, you did tell me. You did tell me. Yeah.
And that's where, you know, like a cold chill went down my spine. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I desperately contained my anger because I suddenly realized how it was done, how they had convinced people all those years ago to go along with socialisms in various forms across the planet. A question I'd asked myself so many times: how does it happen? And, you know, being there at a Labor rally and seeing how it happened, it was like, oh my Lord. And now we're really seeing it happen. You know, to me, it's about as plain as day now as it could possibly ever be, short of the gun in your face, which won't be far off if people don't start waking up to what's going on. You know? And, you know, like you said, you know, I'm all for saving the environment. Got no problem with that. But we need to address this with, you know, the facts. And there's so many elements of facts that they're not taking into account. Like I said, what if the whole solar system is going into climate change? Then that seems to suggest that jumping up and down, putting solar panels up, bulldozing rainforests to put up wind farms ain't going to do a goddamn thing. You know, it seems like a giant distraction to keep idiots amused to me.
That doesn't make
sense.
It does from a certain point of view. What do you think of all this, Tyler?
I don't get why. If you get rid of a rainforest, it's hurting the environment, not helping it.
It's exactly what we did in the wind video that, you know, Oliver and I worked on. Was, you know, again, it demonstrated a shift in the environmental movement because, you know, you got people like Oliver who go, hang on, we're bulldozing rainforest to put up a wind farm. That's not what we wanted. That's ridiculous, you know. And, you know, you've got a whole bunch of people who can actually see the reality of the situation, but there's a whole bunch of other people who are blinded by the holy light, you know, and they continue to, you know, just regurgitate the narrative without thought. And then you've also got people within that same side who are getting a lot of money. So a lot of these environmental groups rely on funding from certain people. And a lot of these certain people just happen to be profiteering quite largely from these kind of things.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
It makes perfect sense if you're one of those greedy megalomaniacal lunatics that's happy to watch the world burn so you can make a buck.
So weird.
Yeah, welcome to the human race, son.
I don't get what goes. How do you think? Like, how would you even think that would help the environment? It seems to be hurting it more than helping because you're getting rid of the trees, you're just getting rid of more oxygen. So, like, how is a wind farm that relies on oxygen? In the wind.
Well, it relies on atmosphere.
Yeah, the atmosphere.
Which is actually created by rainforests, right?
Yeah.
So rainforests produce all that big warm upflow, you know, and that pushes weather systems around as well as the sun. And obviously there's a few extra factors in there.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things, you know, they keep going on about, you know, when they're, you know, bulldozing all this rainforest is how it actually affects the weather patterns as well. Yeah, so yeah, bulldozing rainforest to put up wind farms seems like a complete opposite of what you should be doing, doesn't it? Stupid.
It's not seeing.
But there's nothing to see here. Don't look.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
So we've pretty much hit that hour mark, my friend. So let's talk a little bit about your mushroom group, dude.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, because I want to see a difference in the world, I want to make things change. Mushrooms are great change makers because they turn broken down bits of wood into mycelium networks that go and work their way underneath trees, transfer nutrients, and some even say they are actually communicating with trees. And I think that they are, but they're communicating in a language that is nothing like our language here with words and stuff. They communicate with nutrients, with even like electrical signals and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I started a mushroom group. That's a little bit about mushrooms. If you want to learn more, come along to the Townsville Mushroom Society. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram. Yeah, I've got a workshop happening on the 25th of November to show people like yourselves how you can be a mushroom growing person. You don't need to be someone in a lab with high-tech equipment, although that's great. I'm all about promoting methods of low-tech cultivation. So that's a little bit about what we'll be doing at the workshop. And yeah, as I said, I started the group because I want to actually see tangible changes, and mushrooms are something that can fit perfectly into our world in so many different ways, and they can, yeah, be used to help reduce our waste. They can be used as a food source, as a way to actually clean our environment and soak up a lot of like toxins that might be in our soils and waterways, as well as even alternatives to packaging, and you can make objects out of them, even leather. All sorts of cool things that you can do with mushrooms. It's just an endless list of. They can even be used for. They're even being used for space exploration too.
Really?
Yeah, people. Yeah, people are figuring out. Like one of the things that I came upon from someone in the group was saying that they are being used as a or tested rather as a defense against radiation from inside the spacecraft. And there's all sorts of other things they can be used for. They were used as famous. Yeah.
Mushrooms protect the spacecraft from radiation.
That's what I read in my perusal of this study that I found. This was a while ago that I came upon that. Someone actually who supposedly worked for an Australian space agency let me know about that one. That was really cool, and that's something that I'm really big on. There's actually ways that mushrooms can be used for space exploration. So one of the ways like that it can be used is going back to the mushroom's history, which is way back when the Earth kind of had formed, and it was like land and stuff. Some people think that the mushroom and fungi is really what created our soils here on Earth and made and paved the way for plants. And so people use that same theory to go, okay, well, maybe when we go to other planets, we might be able to use fungi there in order to create healthy soils so that we can live there ourselves, right? Because, yeah, mushrooms are similar to us in that they actually inhale oxygen and then exhale carbon. So they're a bit more like an animal than a plant, despite not being able to move like an animal, like a plant. Like a human, So cool. Yeah, man, I could talk about this for hours because I've done things where I've just talked about mushrooms. Literally, yeah.
There are some pretty cool things about mushrooms, that's for sure.
Yes.
They go well on pizzas for a start. And then there's always those, psychoactive ones that, seem to be being pretty well utilized for health, mental health benefits at the moment. So I'm curious to see how that all turns out, people being able to sort of really look inside themselves and have a good, yarn, I guess, from a certain point of view. I want to look that one. But what I was also interested in is where you mentioned that, the communication form amongst the plant life. And again, in that the source field investigation with David Wilcock, he actually goes in to talk about, I was trying to find it, but it's just a bit of a mission at the moment, where he used there was the guy who invented the lie detector actually put it on a plant. Have you heard this story?
Don't think so.
Yeah, he had like your household plant, and he to put up the old lie detector up to it to see what kind of a response he'd get. And he's tried various different things, but the most fascinating result was when he went to go and burn it with a cigarette lighter or a match or something. So he's got the flame and he brings it up to the plant with the intent of burning it, and this is the important thing, was the intent to burn it, and the lie detector went off before he burnt the plant.
Yeah.
And that was some pretty trippy shit,
Yeah.
to read that. It actually got to the point where he would not would do it anymore. He started to feel like an empathy towards the plant, because you actually have to burn it. You know, you can't just pretend it's like, oh, I'm going to burn you. Yeah, I'm going to burn you. It won't work. If you actually have the intent to do it and you carry through with it, then the plant will react before you do it. Very fascinating piece of science.
Yeah, it is. I don't know how that works at all, but it's incredibly interesting. There's another thing I'll share really quickly. I'm pretty sure I shared it to the Mushroom Action Group on Facebook, or someone might have. In any case, there was because mushrooms can actually carry these signals to plants. People have theorized, okay, I wonder if we could make a mushroom computer if mushrooms are actually things that can transfer signals. And I think some people are actually experimenting with this. They're like interfacing with, trying to mesh the mushroom onto like little like circuit board thing.
Bioorganic technology.
It's just like, whoa, it's so cool.
Instantly makes me think of Battlestar Galactica, at least the remake version of it. I couldn't really watch the old one. It was a bit much. It was, obviously, I guess if I had a nostalgic memory of the old 70s one, then, perhaps I could go for it. But the modern, I think it was 2000, somewhere around the year 2000, Battlestar Galactica, the Cylons had actually become a bioorganic creation. It was really fascinating stuff. And you see similar stuff in Star Wars too. Oh, not Star Wars, Star Trek. Star Trek started to deal with that construct as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've also got the idea of crystalline sort of computing structures, which you see, Superman grabs his fucking little green crystal, chucks it out into the North Pole and creates a whole, Fortress of Solitude out of it, and it's all crystal technology, So yeah, it'd be interesting, to see what kind of technologies we develop from, bioorganics and crystalline elements. I think there's a hell of a lot more we have to learn, but we're not going to be able to do that inside the little closed bubbles they keep trying to put everyone in politically.
Yeah, definitely. Right. I was just about to say, can you imagine like some sort of like crystal? Like I wonder if crystals could help. This is crazy out there, but if crystals could do something, like they could help them grow, like, I don't know. But yeah, right. Like none of that's going to happen unless we, expand our horizons, so to speak. And that's something else I've been thinking about, is and that I've heard other people talk about too, is that when we're asked about our political opinion about things, it tends to lead to a little bit of disagreement with people, right? But when we start to talk about things that we like and that we're interested in,
it never used to be that bad. Like I remember as a kid, like people could discuss their political views generally. I mean, they weren't as, it wasn't as in your face too. I think we've become very politically charged as time's moved on as well. But when I was, like real little, because it being, the eldest of the eldest sort of thing, there weren't many other kids around to play a lot of the time. So I spent a lot of time listening to parents and grandparents and all the old farts sit around and talk and shit. And they all seem to be able to sort of at least figure out what was going on and have a logical discussion, and you could generally agree. The general consensus was, bloody government, doesn't matter which one you vote in. No, none of them seem to give a shit, was the standard thing. Everybody kind of accepted that back in the day. Somewhere along the lines where, as people have become more politically engaged, we're starting to choose sides and now we're warring with each other. It's like, I'm a little bit more like the olds myself. I think, I'm struggling to find one that I actually have faith in. Because the more I find myself getting politically involved, the more I find myself disillusioned in the entire system.
Yep. Yeah, definitely can understand that. This is where I think, and one of my reasons, at least, for starting that People Things group is after being and having so much experience with all the different environmental groups and the way people think and stuff, I was thinking that, things end up the way they do because people just don't get to discuss their ideas with other people enough. Like for example, with the wind farms, right? Like we, like I was someone that was actually promoting wind farms and solar panels, all that sort of thing. Cause I'm like, okay, well, this seems to be an energy source that is going to help us and seems to be better than coal and oil and all that sort of thing. But it's just because I didn't really have, I didn't really get to speak with many people with different perspectives. And until I started to do that, that's probably the point when I started to really have a bit more conflict with these groups of people, because I'd be on their side. I'm like, hey guys, like these people are saying, you know, these other perspectives here. What do you think about this? And then I'd find just not the best arguments for that sort of thing. I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter what we think. This is the you know, the larger population here. We're a small little enclave, but this is what most people think. So if we're actually going to change, if we're actually going to make any headway here with this group over here, we need to come together and discuss these things together. And that's of course where that was my main point of conflict with them. I would say is bridging that political divide, because I saw that as the only solution. I'm like, okay, we can't do our own thing because it's not working. We need to actually join and discuss with other people in order to find agreeable solutions and better solutions. Because as we've seen, it's not the way, because it's destroying more environment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, especially I'm sure everybody, all the greenies got really, excited and pumped when, the Labor Party, who are very left. I don't think they're left leaning. I think their tower fell over. It's not the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's being propped up by, fill in the blank, propped up by a lot of greenie stuff in a lot of ways, and a lot of other weird small groups of strange people who are very much in their own little pocket universe in a lot of cases. And to see such a huge greenie presence and a Labor presence, and then to watch them bulldozing down the side of the coastline to put up their solutions to these problems. And you can see, I think it was a Sky News thing, where the people are just standing up against them in droves. They're in so much trouble. Like, I mean, it was pitched to me. I think it was Nick DeMeadow said it. And I can't remember if he actually said it on camera or out of camera, or if he said it at all. Anyway, somebody said it to me.
Yeah,
that they believe that the Liberal Party intentionally lost the last election. They sat back and thought, you know what? Just let them destroy themselves. And here we are, 18 months later into a Labor government, and boy, have they done a great job of destroying themselves. Like if they manage to survive the next year or so, I want to know how they're going to do it, because they've managed. One thing I learned quickly, with the Labor government when working with them at that point where I'm like, nah, I'm out of here, was that they have brought so many little groups in, and most of these little groups don't get along with each other. It's the same as like the Queers for Palestine scenario. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Seriously, I want a whole bunch of Muslims and the Queers for Palestine to sit down together at the pub. Or, I mean, obviously the Muslims are probably not going to get onto the pub idea, but let's get them together and, let them hang out a little bit more, and let's just see what happens. I'm going to call it science, social interest science. I want to see what happens. Can they get along? Because in my view, their religious construct versus what the LGBT mobs are trying to put forth are like cheese and chalk. They don't fit.
Yeah, right.
And that to me really shows what the far left construct, particularly associated with Labor and the Greenies, really do. They embody is this constant, strange, weird anomalies. There's not a great deal of unity in there, and I think it's doomed to self-destruct. And I think we're going to see a lot of internal conflict within the political constructs in the next years, or next year or two, because I don't think they can survive. They're going to eat each other.
This is it's interesting that you should say exactly that, because that seems to be what left-wing movements and left-wing groups have done quite a lot of in history. The story kind of goes is like the left-wing groups will kind of, they'll have their thing, and then they'll kind of split off and divide, and then they'll want to fight each other, and the right will just kind of stand over here, wait, and be like, okay, they'd wait for them to eat each other, destroy each other. Okay, now we'll take over. And then that's what happens. And it's this constant cycle of history. And the question that I ask is, how are we meant to, what do we do with that? What do we do when, I don't even know where to start with that, but How do we overcome that? Because if it's this thing that keeps on happening with us, maybe there's other questions we need to ask about, like, okay, maybe like the question that the statement that I started with, that I think that maybe we're a little bit more biologically inclined to more conservative and liberal attitudes. And then there's the question of, well, okay, maybe are there things, are there like rules to this? Are there ways of being that we need to understand? First of all, if we are of a kind of political leaning, like are there ways of being that you need to kind of consider so that you don't spiral into that? And for me, it really just comes down to being able to think about other people's perspectives. That's really what it is. And you've said also your wonderful analogy of that. What's the your okay, secret.
The animation. Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it.
Okay,
I'll tell you what. If shit doesn't go too badly for us, in the next day or so, it depends on how well I solve this moldy fucking leaking aircon scenario. I will develop that, because we've been meaning to talk about that concept for a little while, but I want an animation to go with it and a little, a little bit of point. I mean, I suppose I could do it on the board, but we are at like 1 hour 15, and we've got somebody who's just popped in with a question. I have a question. Well, Donald, shoot, tell me about your question, mate. I'd like to hear it. So, I mean, I could just draw it up on the board, I guess. Do we let the cat out of the bag?
Because you've talked about it for a while. Let it, if you want it to hit, wait, and have a think about
Friday. We'll make that the Friday conversation.
Okay. What, me and you?
Yeah. I'll introduce you to the Cafe Locked-Out crowd.
Yeah, cool. All
right. And we'll talk about my view on politics at that particular point, because that is a conversation into itself. It's going to be a huge combo.
Yeah.
And I think we might have to draw it out and whatnot. So see what Donald's got to say here.
Yeah.
Donald Felix. Oh, is that really your name, Donald Felix? Because I instantly think of two cartoon characters. Not to be rude. That's just what pops into my head. Donald Duck and Felix, Fix It Felix, even. From Wreck-It Ralph. So while we're waiting for good old Donald's thing going, so when's your next mushroom meeting, mate?
Yeah, so it'll be on the 25th of November on a Saturday from about 5 p.m. till about 7 p.m. at Sirens Bayside Cafe. It'll be really cool. I'm going to show people that for anyone that wants to become a mycologist, an amateur citizen science mycologist, that's what I'm promoting with this, because we need more people in this country to take up that citizen science initiative. So in Australia, I'm pretty sure we don't have that many mycologists, like trained professional mycologists. And there is only so much a handful of people can do when we have a whole entire universe of incredible things to do with mushrooms to be explored, right? So we need more citizen scientists exploring these things and trying things out, growing things, experimenting, so that we can map out this cool world that we are discovering, this new frontier of science and humanity, and these cool things that can help us. I think. Not I think, I know. I know they're going to help us. So that'll be that. I'll just show people how you can set things up yourself and get going with it, and I'm there to help people along with it. I'm keen to just do anything and everything.
Have you got some mushrooms on the grow at the moment?
I only have these mushroom cultures that a friend of mine sent to me of various different kinds. It's so cool that he's got all these native mushrooms, such as there's like this one called chicken of the woods, which actually is a mushroom that tastes like chicken, but it's a native species. There is oyster mushroom.
Flavored mushrooms. You want to have that crack at that one? I know you don't like mushrooms very often. What do you reckon? Chicken flavored mushroom?
Sounds interesting.
Would you give it a go?
Maybe.
We have to get some chicken flavored mushrooms, mate.
Man, I will be the first. Let me tell you, when I grow them, I'm gonna have a go of them, because they, from what I've heard, they apparently taste like chicken. I'm like, oh my goodness, gotta try this. But anyway, we've got oyster mushrooms, lion's mane, reishi, all those ones, and all legal mushrooms, mind you, because I get a lot of messages asking about if I can get people this sort of stuff, and I'm like, no, I don't. As Paul Stamets says, nature provides, I don't. You know, and people are often shocked when they hear that I don't myself do this and haven't ever done it. So that's a fact. I'm being 100% with all this. Yeah. So
mushrooms for eating, not for tripping.
Yeah. What else? Yeah. I am keen to get into those deeper topics though with the Mushroom Society, like about psilocybin mushrooms and all that, particularly on one of the books that I'm most fascinated with, or is one of my favorite books, which is Fruit of the Gods by Terence McKenna. Puts forward that theory of the stoned ape theory, that humans actually evolved through the consumption of psilocybin mushrooms, and is one of the chief reasons for our rapid brain growth, which occurred approximately 200 something thousand years ago.
Graham Hancock says a similar construct, actually.
Yeah. Does he have a differing opinion of it?
No, he agrees with you.
Okay.
He agrees with you, particularly because he's gone and done a bit of work with the South American tribes and whatnot. Obviously he's had a bit of a fixate because of the nature of Graham Hancock's work being, a forgotten chapter in human history.
Yeah.
About 11,000 years ago or whatnot, during the Younger Dryas period, we had that, move out of the Ice Age. It wasn't a sudden bang, hello, summer's here sort of thing. It was a progressive period of 100 years where things slowly had climate change again, and changed the face of the earth, and there's this, it just coincides with the flood story and all that. And it's interesting how every culture all over the globe have a flood story and whatnot. Personally, I'm a big fan of his work. I think it's the most logical, straightforward thing. It doesn't require UFOs. It doesn't require out there God theories and all that. It's just, let's have a look at the historical record and see what we can see, and look at things for what they are, but he's obviously beating his head against the wall with a lot of people who want to see things for what they want them to be, or what they've accepted them to be for so long that they've become the old dog that refuses to learn a new trick.
Once again, the same theme here we find in politics as well as history.
It's across the board. It doesn't matter what you look at. It doesn't seem to matter what you look at. Everybody's stuck in a rut. They're stuck in a system of belief. It doesn't, whether it's religion, whether it's spirituality, whether it's fucking mechanics. I mean, even when how many people want to get a new phone? Oh shit, I've got to go through all that crap again. And I totally get it. I mean, it's truth. I've been dealing with technology for as long as I can remember. I'm still helping people with their computers to this day. And I get to a point where I'm like, oh, do I need another upgrade? Like, can I just keep this one, please? I'm done reinstalling operating systems. I'm done fixing all the bloody settings and all that. And that, if you haven't watched it, go back to the Civizen one that I did on Friday. Brilliant. I love the idea that these guys are creating a computer system that remembers all that shit. So should you have to reinstall, well, it actually does reinstall every time you use it, which is really cool. But it remembers what you had the last time. So you don't have to go through that fucking painful process of going through all your settings again.
It's interesting. As you're talking, I'm just thinking of a funny little analogy here that we might be able to extend to understand our place in the universe. I wonder what if the people that you are helping are kind of like just normal people, and you're kind of like taking that guru role or that God role, right? You're there trying to help people with their stuff and fix their computers. You're like telling them, just do these things, just do the simple things. And, it doesn't work. And then you're like saying about how like, what was that thing that helps your computer remember? I was just thinking about reincarnation. Like, how people talk about, you want to remember.
Well, I guess it's a bit like that too. Like, I mean, the idea of reincarnation, you come back as a new baby, and it's just like, well, you forgot everything you did in the last 42 bloody lives, or hundreds and thousands of lives, depending on how you look at it and what actually is and what actually isn't. But allegedly, as the story goes, if you go for that construct, is that every time you reincarnate, you forget your previous life. So yeah. How good would it be to be able to access those previous lives and go, so that's what I'm supposed to learn this time, right? Let's get this over and done with. It's like looking at the cheat sheet for your test,
Because the question here would be, well, if we're using the computer analogy, is if you have all these problems with your computer, why do you bother? And it's kind of the same what people do with life, right? People ask, why do we bother? And well, why do we have a computer? We have a computer because we want to learn things. We want to, yeah, we want to, live and do fun things, right? And learn stuff and improve this life. So I wonder, does that mean that we are here to learn and have fun and improve things? And if I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just philosophizing.
Yeah. Well, for philosophizing, like what I liked about computers was that it's like a human brain.
Yeah.
That we've kind of digitized life in that sense, and particularly as we move into the realm of AI and robotics, and we start staring down the Matrix, Terminators, and all those other wonderful science fiction constructs that obviously ended so fucking well. We got to look at these things, and that's fundamentally what we've been doing. We're trying to understand ourselves through these kind of technological mediums, in a sense. Like whenever somebody wants to know how a computer works, I always describe it as your own brain, because that's what the computer is. The computer is a cybernetic brain, in a sense. It has forward memory, it has long-term memory, it has processing capacity, and the human brain is broken up into similar constructs, your prefrontal cortexes and all those sorts of things. And and it even extends into like the monitor is like its ability to draw a picture. The speakers are like it talking to you, the microphone is it listening to you. Tactile response, such as the computer and the mouse, and even with you've got a drawing tablet and things like that, like it's ways of inputting information. I mean, unlike a human, I don't have a USB port in the side of my head, but I'm pretty sure Elon's working on that right now. I can jack in and fucking get some information that way, which leads us into a cybernetic realm that's a little bit disturbing, don't you think? Do you want a USB stick in the side of your head, mate?
No.
Even if you could learn to kung fu like that, I mean, think about how much time we go down to learn to martial arts, right? Mm-hmm. And then you watch The Matrix and he just jacks in and he gets like all these martial arts programs uploaded into his brain in like hours. Would you do it?
No.
No, you're still happy to go for the slow, quick, long path. You don't want to don't want to take the quick and easy path to the dark side.
Yeah, because at least I actually will know it. That's mine. That can't. It's not going to hurt me. It's not. It's going to build my brain to be bigger.
I like the way you said that. You'll know it that it's yours.
Yeah.
So you consider the idea of me sticking a USB stick in your head or jacking in like Neo in the Matrix to be receiving someone else's thoughts?
Yeah.
Fascinating concept.
There's
But isn't learning from someone else a similar construct? So, for instance, we go down and we learn from Ben, at 12 Arrows. Thank me for the plug later, mate. We go to 12 Arrows, but you're learning Ben Manderson style, right? And then you go to, say, another joint down the road that's doing just jiu-jitsu, or another place down the road that's doing, taekwondo, or another place that's doing karate. You're learning their styles.
No, because
and some people can actually be identified from their fighting style where they learned it. Did you know that?
Yeah.
So is it just speeding up the process? Or do you think that going through the long process, you're developing your own spin on it as you go?
You kind of are putting your own spin on it because you're learning it their way, but like it's like still yours because you're doing it. They'll show you what to do, but it's up to you to actually do it and practice it and learn it. So it's technically still yours.
There you go, straight from the mouth of a 12-year-old. Another spin on the universe.
Yeah.
So, well, it doesn't look like Donald's coming back with that question, but I don't know what happened. But yeah, Donald, if you want to spin, I don't know if campaign's quite the right word. So this is what Donald wrote. You know, I have a question on your campaign. I'm not campaigning. I'm not a politician, nor do I really intend to be, even though some have said I should. Maybe later in life, who knows? But right now, what I am intending to do is to create a YouTube channel and talk about awesome things with awesome people and hopefully help you in your thirst for knowledge as well.
Is Donald a real person?
I guess so. I mean, surely, you know, I know
he is.
You reckon he's a pretend? You reckon he's a troll, maybe, or
At
do you
least,
reckon
at least not in the right sense of what it means to be a human, which is, you know, like, yeah, different responses and stuff.
Well,
But,
Donald, it's up to Donald Felix to come and tell us how real of a person he is and what is it his question was. But I think we've just hit 1:30. I think we've well and truly done.
Sure.
Thank you very much for coming on, Oliver.
Yeah, cheers, man. Good to have you on the chat.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you back, mate.
Yeah.
Right when we need you the most, because we've got a lot of work to do, man.
Yeah, okay.
So this is the point where we go through and I get all my little bannery things and say you can get all your contact details through Linktree, particularly the ones where there's a PayPal link and, you know, the important one, the Patreon link. Please come join us and be a member. You know, if everybody who watched and supported the channel across all the platforms, you know, got a $5 or a $10 monthly membership, that would go a long way to paying the bills. So me, my son, and the rest of my children can eat, and Oliver can get paid for a change. You know, it's always good to be able to afford to do this. If you appreciate the work we're doing, you can see I'm rushing around and not quite getting everything done the way I'd like to, is because I'm juggling everything else. If you want me to be able to focus 100% on doing this sort of stuff all the time and getting the best content to you as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible, you got to come to the table and help me out with some finances, guys, because we are struggling. Isn't that right, Tyler? So we really need your help. You know, if any of those elements in the, like Patreons and GoFundMe's and, you know, obviously there's the GoFundMe to help us get that Indigenous video going, because that's a huge project. It's a massive undertaking, you know, and those guys were unable to get the funding that they had hoped for. So we're looking for the people to really come through on that one, because it just so many man hours go into something like that. You know, I'd love to be able to do it for free, but until Woolies and Coles are going to let me eat for free, and the government's going to let me have electricity and stop harassing me for fucking rates notices and all that other shit, then you know, it's just unfortunately the world we live in until we get on top of that sort of stuff. You know, obviously there's the PayPal and all that, but look, if you've got another idea for some way you can help fund us, we're all ears. If you've got a business like 12 Arrows and whatnot that you want to, you know, help us get behind and support, I'm not just going to support anything. It has to be something I believe in, like the 12 Arrows. I totally believe in what Ben Manderson's doing. It's amazing work. It really is, as Tyler said, mind, body, and soul work, you know, and yeah, we fully support that product. So, you know, those are the kind of things we're looking for, you know, like Oliver's mushroom work and all that kind of stuff. These are things that I look at and go, hey, that's cool. You know, if I don't look at it and think, hey, that's cool, then it ain't coming on. If I look at it and think you're a parasite and you're just trying to, you know, take advantage of the people, then you ain't going to last 2 seconds with me. I'll tell you that right now for free. But I think that kind of leaves it here. Of course, check out the link tree for everything else that you might want to know. Various other social platforms sometimes work better than others. Until next time, though, I hope you've all enjoyed what we've got to say here. Tune in Friday for another big one. Not sure exactly what it is, but at this particular point, I believe I've just booked Oliver in for Friday. So I guess that's what we're doing, eh, mate?
What we're doing. What awesome, time is it?
Oh, 7 o'clock. Yeah, same time, same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep. Okay, I can do that.
Too easy. And of course, they can always do these. Oh, hang on. I got two things up at the same time. How did I do that? I'll learn this stuff one day, boys and girls. I promise. Oh, that's on the other one. So I've got to take that one down. And there we go. All right. So, yeah, you can always scan those things too if you want to help. Maybe you like the Bitcoin Cash thing. You know, I might have to get Jason back on at some stage to enlighten us a little bit more as to how that works. He's the one who set it up for me in the first place. I don't particularly pretend to know how all this stuff works myself, but I'll get there in the end. And you know, just because it's a bad idea doesn't mean it won't be a good time, you know. So you better join us next time to find out if we had a bad idea or if it was indeed a good time, or possibly both at the same time. But in the meantime, thank you all very much for watching everything, and we will see you next time. Catch you later.
See you later.